I'm Jade and welcome to the Hungry Vegan channel. Today I want to talk to you about self-love and eating raw. How do the two actually correlate? Well, believe it or not, eating raw food is a lot more than eating bananas. Self-love needs to be at the center core for anybody trying to achieve any level of health, not just raw. When we are striving to reach the pinnacle of health, which I believe is eating raw food, it is absolutely essential. When we don't love ourselves, we always set out to unintentionally destroy our best efforts. How many times do you find yourself on this pattern? Plan a day to go healthy, self-sabotage, the self-loathing starts, the self-shaming starts, the self-abuse starts, then you start to eat unhealthier and unhealthier, you stop exercising, then you plan a day to start to go healthy again, the self-sabotage starts, etc., etc. That constant round and round cycle, and I've seen it for so many women over the years. I myself have come from little to no self-esteem. I was definitely on an absolute path of self-destruction. I was out to completely destroy myself, and I nearly did if that light bulb didn't come. And it's been a long, long path for me of learning to love myself in order for me to start really achieving great health. I have a belief that health is not just physical. In order for anybody to be healthy, we need to be physically healthy, yes, but we also need to be mentally and spiritually healthy. And it's essential for anybody who wants to achieve optimal health and have a healthy, balanced relationship with food. To become stronger mentally, we need to work on our own personal self-esteem, which is easier said than done when you have little to no self-esteem. What is self-esteem? Well, basically, it's an evaluation of your own worth. It's how you judge yourself as a person. So when your self-esteem is low, obviously you're not judging yourself too high. So ultimately, what we want to do is turn your low self-esteem up into high self-esteem, which is essential for anybody to live a healthy life. The first steps in self-love is boosting the way we see ourselves. Many people can speak to themselves so nastily. There's not one other individual that you would go and speak to the way you speak to yourself. How many of you speak to yourself in such a horrible way and tell yourself constantly, you're a failure, you'll never achieve anything, you are no good at anything, you're stupid, you're not good enough, you're pathetic, you're a loser. And guess what happens when we constantly tell ourselves these things? You have eventually believed it. So this is how you think and you see yourself. When you believe these things about yourself, ultimately you're going to fail at absolutely anything you set out to do. And this is why you're on that constant health merry-go-round of stop, start, self-loathing, start again, off we go, and you're never finding that consistent path of health. So what's the first step to starting to stop this negative self-talk? Well, this is how I personally did it, because the way I spoke to myself was absolutely disgraceful, and I made such a conscious effort not to speak to myself horribly at all. Even if it's little things, you know, sometimes you just drop something and you say, oh, I'm an idiot. I don't even allow myself to say that anymore, because I don't want to start to go back into those old habits of self-loathing. And believe me, it didn't happen overnight. But the first thing I started off doing was looking at myself in the mirror. And that can be very daunting for a lot of people, because generally we might just look in the mirror, quickly get ourselves dressed, but ultimately I started looking in the mirror and talking to myself. And I would look in the mirror and I would say to myself, you are great. And believe me, when I first started doing this, I was like this, you are great. And I didn't feel it. I truly didn't feel it at all. I was like, yeah, okay, let's just go through the motions. And I was thinking, yeah, whatever. And I was still calling myself a failure and a loser and everything under the sun that you can possibly imagine. That is what I was calling myself. And bit by bit, I kept practicing. So every morning I'd wake up and I'd say, you are great. You are great. You are great. Until I got to the point where I'm like this, you know what? You are great. There's nothing actually wrong with you. Now, what else I would do is every time I'd start to speak negatively to myself, like I'd say, oh, I'm an idiot, or I'm a failure, or you won't be able to do that, I would stop myself. And it really got to a point where I'm having to listen to what I'm actually saying. So if I'd, you know, somebody would say, Jade, can you do that? And my head would be saying, you can't do it, you're not good enough, oh my goodness, oh, you're going to mess it up. Instead of having that, I'd say, yes, you can. You can do it. You are good. There's nothing wrong with you. And I would have this constant talk in my head because I started to believe I truly was great. There was nothing wrong with me. That I was no worse or better than the girl that was sitting next to me. I had something to give. And that was a very long process, and I got there. I got there to the point where my self-belief in myself, I believe I can achieve absolutely anything I set my mind to, and that is because of the positive self-talk. I also kept a journal, and I still occasionally, probably 3 to 4 times a week, I still write in my journal, and it might be just a positive affirmation or a verse that I've seen that I like, or something positive that's happened. I'll just jot it down. Just so I can see, wow, how much am I growing as a person? But when I first started this, I kept a diary and I would write just the different things that I started to like about myself. And it wasn't easy at first because our initial reaction is to find absolutely everything wrong with ourselves and nothing positive. And I started with, you know, just little things, you know, that I liked about myself. I'd say, okay, what can I like about myself? Oh, okay, I've got thick hair. And that was something simple. We don't see it as a sense of vanity to say, oh, I've got, you know, nice thick hair. We say, yeah, you know, I've got nice thick hair. It's not like having to look at yourself and say, oh, actually, I really like my eyes. For some reason, it's that culturally we believe it might be that sense of vanity if we say something like that. And so I'd look for the smaller things. Then I started to look at the things in my personality I liked, and I think that was probably more important to me to help me grow than looking at just your physical, because when you just look at your physical being, we're our own worst critics, let's face it. So I started looking at the things that I was good at. And, you know, I started off with real simple things first, like, oh, I'm a good mum, I love my children. You know, that's something simple as a mother that we nurture, we love, we care for our children. If you're good at schoolwork, if you're a student, perhaps say, you know what, I'm good at schoolwork. Look at something that you're good at. Just focus in on that. You might be good at sport, you might be good at singing, you might be good at a musical instrument, whatever. Just look at one little thing and then start to build on that. So for me, I started to look and I'd say, okay, you know what, you've got leadership qualities. So I'd write that down. That was a strength, and I'd start to feel better about myself. I'd look at, you know what, you're brave. You're brave enough to put yourself out there, because I constantly have always put myself out there, all my emotions, what I've been through and everything else, I've put it out there. So being brave was another thing for me. I'm good with people, so that was another thing. So, and just started to bit by bit put it down. I didn't do it in one hit, but bit by bit, day by day, I started to just try and find more and more things I liked about myself. And bit by bit, without even realizing, I started growing as a person, and I started feeling happier as a person. And to this day, I don't allow other people to insult themselves in front of me either. It's just one of those habits I've built because I know for me the ramifications long term that it had for my life with my low self-esteem. I deliberately, if someone puts themselves down, I say, no, that's not true, you know, or you know what, we're only human. We've got to realise that we all make mistakes in life. We're all works in progress. So in order for us to build our self-esteem, we can't look at all the negative factors of us all the time. So I think that ultimately for me was one of the biggest growth in my personality. Now there were far more things that I have done along the way in order to grow as a person and to become a stronger, healthier person, both physically, mentally and spiritually. And I'm going to, over the next 7 days, I'm going to do 7 videos to share with you different things that have worked for me to help me on my health journey, and I hope that they help other people with theirs. I'm going to leave it with the last thing that I do, and I still do it. I love them. I love positive affirmations. You know those things that go, you know, you see thousands of them, thousands go through your daily news feed in your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever. If I see one I like, I'll screenshot it and I'll print it out, and I, you know, put them around anywhere just so I've got them to read. Put one in my wallet. On my mirror I actually wrote one, and it's been there for 12 months. 12, 18 months, a long time. I keep looking at it thinking, oh, am I going to take it off? And I'm like, no, I really like reading it. And that is, I am ultimately responsible for what happens to me. So that's just another thing to keep me boosted, to keep me going. So it's all that positive self-talk, because if we can turn those negative self-talk into the positive self-talk, we can turn our lower self-esteem into a higher self-esteem. And that's ultimately what I want you to be able to do, because if we don't have our self-esteem up, obviously we don't have the motivation to do anything for ourselves. Self-love is essential for healthy eating. If we don't love ourselves, we just won't make the time to be healthy. And obviously you're watching this video, so you are seeking ultimate health. So please take some of the steps that I've given you today. Tomorrow my video will be on forgiveness and talking about the benefits of forgiveness and self-love. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a like, subscribe to my channel. And you can also find me on Facebook at the Hungry Vegan, on Instagram at the Hungry_Vegan, and also I have a raw vegan group on Facebook. Please come and join it for further support, and it's called Raw Vegan Fruitarians for Life. I will have the link for that in the description. Great to speak to you today, and I will definitely see you soon. Go raw!